Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video, and the final video in the initial runs, at least, of Conquest Calamity. We are going to take on Ifrit. So this Ifrit still has the same missions as all the other ones, 4 physical, 4 magic, 1 free-to-play character, not terribly difficult. Ifrit itself, 12.3 million HP. This is the most HP we've seen out of any of the bosses up till now. The next highest I think was like 9 million or something, and that was Hinata. But fairly even attack and defense stats. They're both medium medium stats. Like they're not under 10k, but they're not like 16 or 17k like we've seen from others. Physical attacks do more damage, stun resistance, alt gauge, attack, crit rate, alt gauge, nerfs oranges, so keep that in mind. And then more alt gauge, lowers our magic resistance, more alt gauge, and then lowers our fire resistance. So noticeably there is no burn here, and there is no defense against certain types of buffs. So you could use crit, pierce, energy, whatever you feel like. It's just gonna hurt you using oranges a bit. But the thing about Ifrit is that he was difficult in the beginning because he ulted like 5 turns in a row with an attack buff and guaranteed crits, and he would do that over and over and over again, and that's how people would die. And now that he's got a very decent chunk of HP, now we got to do some other fun things to get him down. So let's build a team that is doing extra damage against fire. Alright, so let's just get the elephant in the room out of the way early. Reckoning obviously can be used to cheese all 7 of these stages, but especially this one because now you're doing extra damage against fire enemies, which isn't really a problem with this team because it's not meant to do traditional damage. This is like the full meta Sparkle of Youth team, and we're not even going to really watch that much of it. Because on turn 5, when you have the Frey HP buff and 42 and 26 and 42 and however many stacks, he just dies turn 5. So it's like, I'm not going to make you watch this to just do this exercise. What I am going to do is I'm going to take a free-to-play-ish team in here with only realistically Shizu and Carrion and still get the job done. So there we go, 12.1 million. So that's what the full meta can do if you happen to have it, and it should be a breeze regardless. But let's go ahead and pop this clip in. And now we're going to be running free-to-play Carrion, free-to-play Shizu. We've got free-to-play Isis and Aaron, and then Water Alice, mainly because she's a water physical character and she's an orb changer. We don't use her that much. And then our skill-fused Wind Lumi to give us that healing stuff, which works out fairly well. But since this team is not getting nearly as many stacks within the same amount of turns, you're not going to kill on turn 5. You're going to kill like turn 8 or something. Okay, so actually, let's reset. So turn 1 we reset, got a nice hand, so we can just use the Lumi convert, and then we can send 6 greens. Isis is here to give us that 50% all gauge increase on greens that lasts for 3 turns, so we can get extra protection gauge from that. And then it's really just an exercise in using our orb changes and building up as many stacks as possible. We are running the AoE heal charm on Carrion, because that is the most efficient charm that the Sparkle of Youth team can ever put on. If you don't have that, you could use a single target charm, or if you want to go about it even slower, you could use like the protection gauge on green charm, and that would also probably work. It would work. It wouldn't get you as many stacks, but it would get you more uses of Carrion, so you could maybe reset. But without a multi-use skill, you don't need to reset with Carrion twice in a single turn, realistically. So here, we're going to try and leave Lumi up front as much as possible, because without Carrion's healing field active, Lumi's heal doesn't actually give us any extra stacks of Reckoning. So we need to apply Carrion first and then use the Lumi heal. On the plus side, Aaron, while she does have type disadvantage against Fire Ifrit, she does have a small HP cap raise and crit resistance, which Ifrit is critting a lot. So she is giving us a couple different things alongside just orb changing, which is why I brought her instead of maybe Space Zupia, where we would be type neutral and be a little bit more protected, but only have one skill that would actually make a difference. So here, more greens, more carrions, using Shizu both skills twice a turn, regardless of if we needed to. And we have 16 stacks apiece on these characters. We're on turn 5, so this is the first turn that Reckoning will apply. We will use, there we go, orb changes. We'll use Carrion, boom. That's a heal again, so 20 stacks now, and then 2 on Isis. Lumi heal gives us another 6 stacks, and then we'll send this. And then our first turn of actual Reckoning damage on this specific team is 2.9 something. I know it was really fast to see right there. Yeah, 2.9 million. So at that rate, we're not really in danger of dying, obviously. We have not taken any real damage. And if we were just to sit here and send one orb, like, he would die eventually. A couple more turns, but we can always keep applying skills. And so by the time we hit turn 7 and turn 8, he's pretty much dead. So using free-to-play Protector, free-to-play Shizu, a healer Lumi. You don't have to bring Lumi. She just serves double purposes here. You could bring Trainee. You could bring Wind Romerus, Octogram Romerus, just any healer. Murin, Earth Murin works because of the continuous heal. Might actually be more viable. But yeah, Reckoning definitely will get this job done here. And because it is giving extra damage against fire, I don't feel as bad as using this team instead of others, which there aren't actually a lot. Alright. The only other team that I could get to work reasonably, that at least would give us extra damage against fire, would be the Protector Peace team. Now, this team is not exactly fun to use, but it can get the job done. Masayuki, has a 1-tier reset. He's got the Inspire ability, which is attack stacking, but only after the turn is over, and you gotta do the whole gimmicks of follow-up orbs and multi-hits from Hinata and Xion to really do anything about that. The team is oddly selfish in some ways, where some buffs only apply to one character and some apply to others. It's not a very fun team to use. If you didn't like Divine General, then you're really not gonna like this team. But we'll get most of the run in here. It is a skill reset team first and foremost, so you will be spending a lot of time clicking things over and over again. So turn 1, we got 5 blues, which, I mean, is cool. We're running skill point units up front, so we actually don't, we do with the traits, but we wouldn't get protection gauge off those 5 blues normally. If you want to run just the normal big 3 instead, you totally can. But here, we're 2 turns in a row where we're not sending green orbs. That's not a good start. Let's just burn out these oranges. Or we could do this. We have enough points to do it. So the double orb change with Geld, the single orb change with Rimuru gives him extra weakness strike, but only him. And then we'll use Masayuki to reset, and then we'll do his orb change again. Boom. Alright. Cool. So the weakness strike only applies to Rimuru, but he's an AoE character. But he only also gets the 150% ult damage buff. He doesn't give to anybody else. He gives everybody else crit rate, which I guess is fine, because Xion needs crit. But it's just a very odd team to run, and I don't know if people are actually going to have this available, so you're probably better off just using Reckoning. The other options for exact damage against fire enemies is World of Fantasy, and that Milim, I'm sorry, is not doing 12 million damage. She's not. Unless you put her on a totally different team, stacking or something, and then give her a whole bunch of 80 point, 90 point buffs. That Milim can do 5 million, as we see in Jubilee sometimes, but she's not doing 12, unless I'm horribly miscalculating something. I didn't even want to try it. But if someone did run that team, you let me know. And if you did 12 million, again, you let me know, and I will try it out. But as far as I'm concerned, she's just not strong enough with the actual World of Fantasy team. But there's always room for improvement. The reason why we brought Idol Shuna is because she's the only other reliable and generic alt-swapping character. Because normally I would run Overlord Shizu, but I recognize that at this point in time, not a lot of people have Overlord Shizu that are still playing this game. Overlord was a year ago from 2 months ago, last month. So if you weren't playing back then, you don't got her, and you're never gonna get her. So I opted to go the slightly kinder route and just do Christmas Shuna. Because she can still double alt swap. The synergy buff, its full power is locked to magic, but you can still give synergy rate to everybody, which is fine. But we really need her here to alt swap away, because there's no way we could run this without some kind of alt swapping character on this team. So we're gonna skip ahead to the end of the fight. So we got turn 7 going on, one more orb change. But actually, we're not going to nuke on turn 8, because we don't have the skills. Sorry, the cat is trying to get everywhere. We don't have the setup that I would need, because I want to max out Hinata's buff, but you have to use 300 skill points to do that, and I can't do it if she's up front. So we're going to take her out, we're going to bring Shuna in, we're just going to send these 3 orbs, and then we could use a whole bunch of other things leading up to the final skill being Hinata's buff. So we'll use Shuna's buff. It is skill fuse, it doesn't really matter though, because she gives it to magic or festive memories, and no one here is that except her. So synergy buff, the Rimuru buff, the Shion buff, okay. That's a lot of points, but not quite 300, so let's use the the multi-hit, and then now we can use Hinata's buff for the full 100% crit resistance down, and then we'll nuke. So the AoE, the single target, Rimuru does 6.8 million, let's think right there, and then Shion does 8 million. So it is enough. It's cutting it a bit close, especially. We would have done slightly less if we didn't have that synergy rate. We would have done like 7.6 million or something right here, maybe a bit more, but yeah, that's the only other team that I could figure out that would be able to reliably do it. But if you found a different team that's not Reckoning that can clear this stage, then please put it down in the comments and I will try it out in its own video. But that's it from me. Take it easy, and I'll see you guys later.